Yo, what's going on, everybody? Today's episode, we'll get into something that I find very interesting and annoying at the same time. you know, Usually I don't really get into the sports side of things, but I felt like this would be fun to talk about and irritating at the same time. So, Shadeur Sanders, what I call slander. I'm gonna let this podcast, I'm gonna let this show play, and we're gonna get the commentary from these gentlemen, and then I'll be pausing as we go, and we can discuss. I'll discuss some things, some points that they're bringing out from my perspective, as I'm a Cleveland Browns fan myself, and I follow the Cleveland Browns pretty thoroughly because I'm from Cleveland, so I've grown up a Cleveland Browns fan. And I'll say, I'll be honest, in the draft, I actually wanted Travis Hunter. But at the same time, in terms of quarterbacks, I did feel like Shadeur Sanders was the best quarterback in the draft. I felt like Travis Hunter was the more, was the bigger talent. But after seeing Shadeur Sanders in action in minicamp and OTAs and what have you, he's totally changed my mind. I mean, he's exceeded my expectations. And it's no way that he should have failed to uh, round five, and there's no way that Dylan Gabriel should have gone before Shador Sanders. Dylan Gabriel did not play Shador Sanders in college. He clearly the physical attributes are clearly in favor of Shador Sanders, and I'm a Cleveland Browns fan once again, so it's not in my best interest to see any of the quarterbacks fail. Any of them rise to the top, and rise to be an elite quarterback, and they can get the Browns to that level. So be it. Um, but anyway, I think the whole Shador Sanders situation is very peculiar. It's not making the NFL look good, but anyway, I'll get into this clip. Probably do some more videos after this to follow this video up, just to let you see how media talks. Um, how well, I'm not gonna speak on this.
Unique insight into
See how
this.
you do you?
Well, you
Appreciate
weren't
that.
you never dove into an NFL playbook like these
As
two
far
have.
as you know,
So
but
that
let's
is
go.
true. You know what, Bull? I should apologize. If you have dug into an NFL playbook, then
Many
you are
times.
uniquely
Go ahead.
qualified for this conversation too. But last Thursday, we had Jory Epstein on the show from Yahoo. She had spent 2 days
Yeah.
in Berea covering the Browns. Then she wrote her column over the weekend. Charles Robinson, who also is a national NFL writer, wrote a column on the Browns quarterback job. I want to play you a soundbite from Jory and then read you some excerpts from the two articles because they both mentioned something in different ways that we hadn't heard prior to this information. Jory said this first on Thursday, and I don't want to say we glossed over it, but we didn't really ask any follow-ups to it. I didn't really make anything of it until I read more into the article she wrote and Charles wrote. But this is a 50-second clip from Jory Epstein when she joined us last week, and then I'll read you guys the clips from Charles Robinson and Jory's article. This was Jory on UCSS last week.
But guess which student has a better chance of getting into an Ivy League school? First, take a look at Zach. He's valedictorian, National Merit Scholar, and he's president of the debate team. He's got a 4.4 weighted GPA and a
guys who need the most work right now are the rookies, and that's not a knock on them. That's because they don't have pro experience. And then I would even say that Dylan Gabriel and Shador Sanders arrive at the NFL with pretty different levels of foundations, not because of, this is not about where they can go. This is about where they can come from. And where they came from is Dylan Gabriel played for 3 schools, all sorts of offenses. it really had a much wider range of foundation, in my opinion, in terms of the offenses he was exposed to. And so I think he is a little bit ahead of Shadeur Sanders, and I think that's reflected in who's getting these snaps. So I would say, to answer your question, now that we have that context, the reason Shadeur Sanders is not getting first-team reps is because it's going to take a little bit of time before operationally and from a cadence standpoint and from a playbook standpoint, he is ready to excel then. And they're not trying to put him in a situation where it's just like obvious how unready he is for that.
Okay. So, I don't know about Dylan Gabriel's new schools that he's been to, but a pretty good portion of independent media has given their take on how the two quarterbacks look. It's very surprising to me that these selling this has been more prepared uh, than Shadeur Sanders. Even if that's the case, on the visual, on the eye test, from what I've seen, and I've been following camps pretty closely, uh, myself and other, media pundits, are saying the same thing. That if Dylan Gabriel had that advantage, it's not working to his advantage in terms of his play in the camps. He doesn't look as comfortable as Shadeur Sanders, or he hasn't. Now, unless he made some type of jump in the last 1 or 2 weeks, so be it. But in terms of the clips that I've seen so far up until this point, I probably missed maybe like 1 week or something like that. Shadeur Sanders has looked head and shoulders above Dylan Gabriel. I don't say this because I want Dylan Gabriel to fail, just because I'm a Shadeur Sanders fan. Like I said in the beginning of this, that I actually was looking at Travis Hunter as the best option for the Browns. The Browns went a different direction and went with the tackle. But in terms of quarterback play in college, who was the best quarterback in the draft, I definitely felt that Shadeur Sanders was that. But like I said, Shadeur Sanders, in my opinion, has succeeded. Well, in my personal opinion, my expectations. He's looked way too comfortable for a rookie quarterback in these camps. Dylan Gabriel, from what I've seen, he has an issue with staring down receivers. Shadeur Sanders is in camp looking off defenses, faking defenses out with his eyes. He's commanding the huddle. It seems like he's calling audibles at the line. Overall, he just has a better command of the offense in terms of what I've seen. So I don't, this is very surprising that they're going with this narrative because this is not what's going on by any means. So what they're doing, what some of the media is doing, what a good portion of the media is doing, is they're trying to figure out ways to vary the narrative that's been getting out about Shadeur Sanders and his excellent play in the camp. They're trying to figure out a way to downplay him some more and keep this, hush mouth for whatever reason. And like I said, this is very peculiar that so many people are going out of their way to keep, uh, you know, this amount of talent secret. You know, I don't know what the agenda is overall. To get rub people that wrong. You know what I mean? But his play has backed up his persona. They even have exceeded it. So anyway,
So that was Jory Epstein. And then over the weekend, Charles Robinson wrote an article. The headline of the article was this: Shadeur Sanders can win the Cleveland Browns starting quarterback job. Here's how, from inside the building. And then he went on and wrote this, and you'll see it on your screen. Physically, Sanders can start in the NFL right now. Despite all the talk about the Colorado Buffaloes offensive coordinator Pat Shurmur utilizing a pro-style scheme that supposedly made Sanders more, quote, pro-ready than some other quarterbacks, I don't think that is proven to be the case. Not only is Sanders going to be mentally swimming with the complexity of an NFL offense, there's a lot of work to do with the basic terminology and verbiage used by Stefanski's scheme. In short, I don't believe Shermer's Colorado offense had as much NFL overlap in either of those departments, which means that Sanders is going to have to learn from the ground up when it comes to something as simple as being able to memorize and spit out all the verbiage of an NFL play inside the huddle.
So again, like my take on it, if Shadeur Sanders is struggling with the playbook at this point, and he looks this comfortable in camp, and he's struggling with the playbook, that's an amazing take to me. I've never seen anybody look this comfortable and struggling with the playbook and terminology. I mean, at a bare minimum, this means that if he does master the playbook, we're looking at a Hall of Fame type quarterback, a franchise type quarterback, one of the best of all time. If this guy, if the young man is really struggling as they say that he is, which I don't believe. Um, I've never seen anybody command the offense and struggle that much. Terminology, blah blah blah, whatever they're talking about. No, it doesn't pass the eye test. People who struggle with terminology in offenses, they don't look that comfortable. You know, um, and somebody's got to explain to me how you look that comfortable and struggle with the playbook at the same time. Never seen it before. But I guess it's the first thing. It's a first time for everything. I guess you can't put everything into the same category all the time. I guess two things could be true at once, but I doubt it. Anyway, let's see.
That's hardly an unusual problem when it comes to a rookie quarterback, but it's a much bigger challenge when you weren't really operating a complex offense in college or calling complicated plays or protections in a manner that had a lot of NFL overlap. Sanders has to learn the Browns offense and then learn how to speak it and quickly so that he can get to the line of scrimmage and make his pre-snap reads. That was Charles Robinson.
So Mike, when you sent the rundown to us,
yes.
The
Can you Jory's quote real quick before you do that?
All right, go ahead.
And then Jory, who wrote an article on the Browns quarterback battle, we heard what she said about Shadeur in the clip. She wrote more about Dillon Gabriel and his perspective in terms of picking up the offense. She said, quote, Gabriel's acclamation has impressed the Browns deeply. His high-level processing and 6-year college foundation has readied him to be treated.
I don't know how to describe this. This is to me blatant alternative narratives. Dylan Gabriel has not looked like what they're saying. Who is this? Jory Epstein is saying that he looks like. This is he's looked the complete opposite from what I've seen. He is not processing at a high level, and his processing speed, versus Shadeur Sanders' processing speed, is night and day. So they're talking as if Dylan Gabriel has an advantage in terms of processing speed and processing plays, or the speed in processing plays. Um, this is the total opposite of what's really happening on the field. So the question to me is, why are they doing this? It makes no sense. What are they trying to prove? What game is the Cleveland Browns organization involved in with this? You know, I don't understand it. I don't know why someone would waste this much time trying to prove somebody, trying to downplay a professional athlete who earned it. Anyway.
In some ways, basically like a veteran, Andrew Berry said. Reese praised Gabriel as a player who you don't ever need really to correct him twice. The first team reps he received in minicamp reflected his grasp with a Wednesday red zone needle threaded to receiver Jalen Gill in the back of the end zone, the type of anticipation the Browns want to see from the room. She went on to call his processing.
Remember college? And now college is over, and here comes your student.
Like a machine.
All right, now first
This
of all,
is hilarious. Dylan Gabriel is processing like a machine. I think in the next video, I think I'll give my general narrative in this video, and then I'm actually going to show, footage of the two. So it could be known exactly what the camp is looking like, between these two. This is not a thing of like I said, putting down Dylan Gabriel. Dylan Gabriel is a bystander in this situation. Unfortunately, Browns seem to be involved in creating this narrative about this young man. Unfortunately, Dylan Gabriel is kind of like in between. Unfortunately, you know. But anyway, let's take.
Most of what was said by both of them, outside of the Andrew Berry quote at the end on Dylan Gabriel, the rest of it is just speculation. None of it is based on inside information. Charles Robinson saying, well, Shadeur has a lot to pick up off the field. He may. I don't know. I have no idea how much he needs to pick up. I don't know him personally. I'm not in the locker room. I have no clue. But he's just giving an opinion. He's not stating that as a fact. He said, in fact, he says in his, I mean, how would he know it as a fact?
He has a lot to pick up. Like, where is the basis for it? The basis should be the on the field play. Not what you think or how you feel. And it's no way that anybody can look at the performance of Shadeur Sanders in these camps and say that he needs to pick up something. Being that he's a rookie, of course, it's more that can be learned. He can always, in terms of being a rookie, can always refine his game. He should be looking to do that. But to say that, to make a point of emphasis on this seems to be absurd to me.
And he's not even citing, he's not like sources tell me or anything like that. He's just giving an opinion that a lot of people thought that Shadeur's offense made him more NFL ready. And his thought is, not so fast. That offense didn't necessarily make him NFL ready. He's not even saying that he's not NFL ready. In fact, he did say he thinks he's physically ready. He's speculating he might not be. And I think a lot of the speculation of people saying, well, maybe he's not ready behind the scenes, which may or may not be true. I think a lot of that's being said, guys, because he's not getting first-team reps. Now, that might mean nothing, but I think that's why people are speculating that maybe he's got further to go.
This is where the Browns seem like they're playing this media game as well, and playing this political game with Shadeur Sanders as well. Shadeur Sanders, Dylan Gabriel, I believe he didn't start off with first team reps. I think Dylan Gabriel and Shadeur Sanders pretty much started off with the same level of team. Whether it be twos, threes, or fours, neither one of them started off with ones. So what I'm saying is that um, apples to apples comparison, when Dylan Gabriel was running with the same talent that Shadeur Sanders was running with, he did not look as comfortable as Shadeur Sanders did in that offense. It seems like they want to, they are catering to Dylan Gabriel, giving him the doubt, despite his lack of play on the field. Whereas Shadeur Sanders is proving himself day in and day out, making elite throws. It seems like they're going out of their way to cater to Dylan Gabriel despite his lack of play. That's what I'm getting from it. And again, the question is why? If Dylan Gabriel is looking fairly decent running with the ones, I can only imagine how Shadeur Sanders would look, being that when you compare apples to apples comparison, uh, Shadeur Sanders was night and day, head and shoulders over Dylan Gabriel.
In terms of that type of stuff. But it's all just speculation.
When we talked about it last week, I said that could be that to me is the only reason why he ain't getting first team reps. Because, like I said, when you turn the tape on, it's clear as day. Anybody that see it is clear as day from him throwing the ball. But if it is, the only thing that could possibly be holding him back would be the playbook and how he's able to process the playbook. I wouldn't necessarily say on the field he's slow processing because, as you can see, whether he know everything or not, he still is going to the right spot with the football. And everybody is saying, well, this is a guy that's not even taking check downs. He's throwing 20 yards down the field on a dig route. So it's not the processing of all of that. He when the ball is snapped, when he on the field, he understands everything. Now, the verbiage and the terminology, I give you that. That could be the thing. If you go all the way back to what the Giants was talking about, that was the issue in the big Giants meeting, is that he didn't know the terminology and the verbiage that they were using. I told you when I came out, I had that.
Shadeur Sanders didn't do well in that interview or meeting, but I'm just not buying that narrative. Just not buying that narrative whatsoever. And it's because I've had the opportunity to watch Shadeur Sanders since he's come into the NFL, and watch him from the beginning to now, and I just don't believe you looked at polish as a rookie without preparation, without studying, and and doing whatever needs to be done to get it done. And what's being said from the Browns organization, his teammates, and just the media, is that Shadeur Sanders is the first to show up and the last to leave. He's staying after practice, getting it in, doing what he needs to do. And of course, this is not made or made known to the national public. They're trying to push this narrative. Dylan Gabriel has been more prepared. Dylan Gabriel is walking into the locker room. So that's just the facts. It's not. I'm not saying that I'm not saying that to put him down and prop Shadeur Sanders up. I'm just saying the other quarterbacks are putting in that work. Now, Joe Flacco, 40 years old in this game, won the Super Bowl ring, and you've been doing it as long as he's been doing it. Plus, on top of that, he had a short run with the Cleveland Browns. I think maybe a couple of years ago it was. And, he pretty much, brought the Browns out of the ashes, and was had a great deal to do with their them entering the playoffs that year. So Joe Flacco to me is the only quarterback that doesn't have to stay in practice. He did very well in his offense previously, and he's a vet. So he's ready to go. But the rest of them, I would expect them to be getting in. Can't remember the quarterback they picked up that used to play for Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett should be staying after practice. Dylan Gabriel should be staying after practice with Shadeur Sanders. He shouldn't be there by himself. But the media seems to want to overlook that. But anyway.
That exact same problem. I didn't say it the same way. My college said it a certain way. The NFL said it a different way. And I was confused of the two because I'm so used to saying it my way. So for him, that's a learning curve. The more he's around it, the more he does it, the more he says it, obviously he's going to pick up on it. But still, even with all that said, I still think he still deserved the rep with the ones because, like I said, even Charles Davis said at the beginning of his quote, physically,
Charles Robinson.
Charles Robinson at the beginning of his quote, he physically looks ready. So even if he doesn't understand the terminology, and I understand Kevin Stefanski coming out and saying, oh yeah, we have a certain way that we're doing things, don't look into the reps and all of those things. And if him running with the fours is his way of slowing the pace down.
One thing that I'll tell anybody that has an open, pending personal injury claim, it's important to be an advocate for yourself. You want
extremely so he can try to get in and out the huddle and all those things. Okay, cool. But at the end of the day, I still need to see him with the ones to see what he look like. Give him a wristband or something like that. Let him go out there, read it off the thing, and just go out there and let him throw the ball with the ones. Because at the end of the day, You got from now until game one to get him up to speed on the terminology. That's something that could be fixed. But as far as him getting reps with ones and getting chemistry with people, that's not something you could just throw out there at the last minute and think he's just going to pick it up. So to me, that's why it's like at some point you need to put him with the ones, especially if he's physically ready for the part. Because I can tell you every other quarterback in this draft, outside of maybe Dylan Gabriel, apparently, I think they all going to struggle a little bit with the terminology because it's different. Unless your OC was under this head coach or OC in the NFL, the terminology is going to be different. So at that point, to me, that's still bogus. That's still not a good reason to why he hasn't gotten one rep.
Right.
Personal opinion.
That you was cooking right there,
Thank
bro.
you.
You said a lot
Thank
of
you.
stuff. I'm
I
like,
try to
dang,
keep it real.
You was cooking right there, bro. I was like, dang, bro, you sound like me. That's so crazy. First of all, can we bring up the quote?
You know, has the same type of take that I have from it. He has his own show. Go check it out. You know, that's his Addy right there. G. Bush has been on the money since the very beginning. He's been honest about the take on Shadeur Sanders. And, you know, he's noticed the talent gap between Shadeur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel from the beginning. And if you don't have any type of bias and you just look at the two, the talent gap is glaring. You know, the only way that you don't notice it is if you're trying to downplay Shadeur Sanders. You know, but whoever let G Bush do his ones and twos and probably cap it after he's done.
Yeah, can we the one where she says with the pinpoint thing, pinpoint accuracy, throwing the football and stuff like that.
You want the one that Jory said about Dylan Gabriel?
Yeah.
Correct. You can take it right here, Steve.
So here's the problem. So let me go to the very end of that. Wednesday red zone, needle threaded to receiver Jalen Gill in the back of the end zone. That type of anticipation the Browns want to see from the room. The problem with the coverage and the problem with people got is when you listen, and I'm going to name names, when you listen to Mary Kay, when you listen to Tony Grossi, when you listen to Jason Lloyd, when you listen to these people write this, and that's their opinion, right? And there's never that level of detail when Shadeur Sanders does something. When he throws a bomb and he's wide open, touchdown. When he threaded that needle right there, when he caught it in the back of the end zone, like this, touchdown. With that was.
In fairness, I don't know. I can't speak to the others. I'll say Jason's not writing that kind of detail about Dylan Gabriel either.
Well, no, I'm just saying. But we haven't that level of detail.
And that's the type of throws this young man's been making the whole camp.
Listen to these people write this, and that's their opinion, right? And there's never that level of detail when Shadeur Sanders does something. When he throws a bomb and he's wide open, touchdown. When he threaded that needle right there, when he caught it in the back of the end zone, like this, touchdown. With that was.
In fairness, I don't know. I can't speak to the others. I'll say Jason's not writing that kind of detail about Dylan Gabriel either.
Well, no, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But we haven't that level of detail. Tony Grossi say, "Oh, I thought Dylan Gabriel, he spins it the best. He throws the most tight spiral." Listen, I'm gonna just keep it real with you. When he caught that ball in the back of the end zone, there was actually people on Twitter talking about whether the foot was in or not.
Talking about you talking about Shadeur?
Yes.
They said it was an incompletion.
This is the problem.
But that has nothing to do with Shadeur.
That ain't got nothing to do with it. And people get up.
Another extremely accurate thread the needle pass to a receiver in the end zone. The receiver didn't have he didn't seem to keep both feet down. But what they're saying is that that doesn't fall on the quarterback. The quarterback gave him the best throw possible. He threw it in an area that the defense couldn't get to. He gave his wide receiver the best opportunity to make that touchdown catch. And the wide receiver or the receiver, I can't remember who's the wide receiver. The receiver didn't get the 2 feet down. But they're talking about the arm talent, processing speed. And what they're saying is that media and people try to take that away from Shadeur Sanders by saying, well, the guy can get his feet in bounds, and that's just disingenuous. It's just disingenuous when you see the film. And maybe in a part two, I'll find that film and I'll bring that up. I'll try to make that the first point, uh, the second video, as we go through Shadeur Sanders' film. Why I can break down why myself and guys like G. Bush are so high on Shadeur Sanders. And I think when I get done breaking that down, it'll be undeniable. Anyway, let's go.
Upset because you're sitting here with that crazy, like, it ain't crazy, it's a nice throw. It just
It
seems to
is.
be that everything Shadeur Sanders does is minimized, right? Let me continue to give it to you right here.
Hey, business owner, tired of wasting hours on scheduling, attendance, and payroll? Connect Team's here to simplify all of that for you. With Connect Team's auto.
People keep telling me that Kenny Pickett is a starter. He's going to start. He's going to start. Let me ask y'all a question. Put it in the chat. Where are the Kenny Pickett highlights?
I don't think that
point.
That doesn't matter. I wouldn't.
You know what I'm saying? It does matter because it's another comparison. You know what I'm saying? Like you've got a veteran who's been around this long, and around pro offenses, just like the lady was trying to say and downplay. Shadeur's experience in pro offenses. Well, we have Kenny Pickett who's been around for quite some time. You know, and the reason why they haven't shown Kenny Pickett highlights is because he doesn't have any. Doesn't have any notable highlights. You know, but Shadeur Sanders has a ton. Pretty much like 50% of the passes that Shadeur Sanders throws are touchdown passes downfield. He's carving up the defense. He's being aggressive with it. He's not holding back. He's trying to make plays. He's trying to make a difference with the ball. He's not just trying to make a move the sticks type plays. He's trying to cut the defense's heart out. You can tell. But anyway,
Start Kenny Pickett.
Now let's go bring him up.
Hold on, I got one for you. I had somebody tell me that Shadeur he was a 5th round pick, so they treat him accordingly. And I said, Kenny Pickett got traded for a 5th round pick, so if we gonna look at this, and we gonna call a spade a spade.
Every person I ask, tell me 3 concrete traits why Kenny Pickett is ahead of anybody at camp. They can't give you anything.
I don't think most people think Kenny Pickett's going to start. I know there's a few.
Jason
Lloyd. All the beat reporters, all of them.
I don't think they all think he's going to start.
Mary Kay has said it from Jump Street. Jason Lloyd says
yes.
And Tony, I think that's it.
Well, Jason Lloyd doesn't think he should start.
No,
he
said he is.
He will start.
He will
based
start.
on the information he's getting.
But my thing is. So I'm looking at.
Let's clear. Wait a minute. Let's clear Jason's name. Jason said that Joe Flacco looks the best.
He says Flacco looks the best.
So
which is obvious. I think everybody knows.
So let's clear Jason's name.
And I'm not specifically talking about Jason Lloyd, right? I'm specifically talking about there's this blind thing where it's Kenny Pickett, and I'm like, okay, well, if you look at the statistics,
not from fans.
Well, if you look at the statistics of the way like they're putting it out there. He has almost the worst completion percentage. He's throwing no touchdowns, and nobody at camp has said, man,
all right,
that Kenny Pickett is slinging a rock, Tyvus.
Right.
Nobody.
I'm going to upset everybody again because once again I'm going to say I don't care about the statistics.
Okay, that's fine.
I've been consistent with that.
That's fair.
Good or bad. I don't care who has. I want to know from guys like Tyvus, from guys like you, if you were there.
That may be genuinely how Old feels here, but I can guarantee you if Shadeur Sanders looked like, how Kenny Pickett has looked at times, and Kenny Pickett hasn't looked horrible all the time. He just hasn't looked as productive as the rest of the quarterbacks. With that being said, if Shadeur Sanders looked like how Kenny Pickett looks or has looked in the Browns camps, the whole nation would know about it. They would be broadcasting those highlights on national TV, on ESPN every evening, every day, all day. but you don't see any of the Shadeur Sanders highlights. On national media, at least of what I've seen. I could be wrong, but I haven't seen it. And the reason why you haven't seen it, this is coming from Cleveland Browns fans, and I'm not the only one. Uh, I believe the reason why you haven't seen it is because they're trying to downplay, Shadeur walking what he talks. The persona image. Yes, Shadeur Sanders has something to do with it, but NFL made it something that it didn't have to be. So therefore, they want to cover themselves by downplaying, Shadeur's bigger than life persona, the fact that he's actually living up to it and possibly exceeding it. They don't want to be showing up like that, and they're running out of ideas, and they're getting desperate, and that's what it seems right. That's what it seems like. It seems like it is right now. So I'll tell you, you know, being a Browns fan myself, fans don't care about none of that media narrative garbage. They want the best talent on the field. They want to see the team win. So the Browns play that game and they bring out a lesser talented quarterback, and they find out that Shadeur Sanders is head and shoulders the best quarterback option, or even Joe Flacco's equal, being that if Shadeur Sanders is Joe Flacco's equal as a rookie quarterback, and he's not on the field, Browns fans are going to throw a riot because Browns fans don't care about what you're saying about Shadeur Sanders if he can get them W's. That's all that Browns fans care about. We don't care about his image, his persona, reputation, and all that other stuff. Giants interview, none of that stuff. If he's on the field producing, the Browns fans will throw a fit. They find this out. Many of them are already, this guy doesn't get on the field, and the quarterback that does get on the field stinks it up. I have a problem. I'm just telling you now.
There, who looks the best to me. I don't care what their stats were. And
I have to go to see
from,
it.
From the people that are there and the people that I trust, like Zach Jackson and Jason, they've said for the most part consistently that Joe Flacco has looked the best.
That's what they
said. So
said.
if we're trying to win, if that's the goal, and I understand sometimes there's mixed goals, but if we're trying to win, it seems pretty obvious Joe Flacco should be the starter. If it's about an eye on the future, from what I've heard from people that have been there, Shadeur Sanders has looked better than Gabriel, although Gabriel's looked good too, and that's good.
Imagine making $453,000 in a single month as an affiliate marketer without relying on Google.
It's almost like our entire fan base wants Shadeur to look good. Half of our fan base, maybe not half, whatever percentage, doesn't matter. That some of our fan base wants Shadeur to look good and Gabriel to look like crap. And the other part of the fan base wants Gabriel to look good and Shadeur to look like crap. And that's idiotic.
I want them both to look good.
The neutral fans, I don't believe they give a damn. I believe the neutral fans already know who's a better quarterback, and the neutral fans are going to be the ones throwing a fit and throwing a riot if they don't put the best talent out on the field. Neutral fans don't give a damn about either. They don't give a damn about either of the narratives. They don't care about putting. They don't care to see anybody get put down, but they definitely don't care to see elite talent be snuffed under the rug. That's going to be upsetting the Cleveland Browns fans if the Browns continue to play these games. They need to stop it. Be non-biased about it. Get the best talent out there. If Dylan Gabriel truly rises to the top, what that means that he earned it. But giving him the benefit of the doubt as if he was a better talent coming into this draft, Shadeur Sanders, is absurd.
They have both looked good from the people that I trust that have been there. I don't really honestly who's looked better at this point? Probably Shadeur from what I've heard, but I don't know how much it matters at this point, right? This is just a step in the process. And so here's the things I know. You tell me if you disagree. This is what I believe I know. A few things about this whole situation. There is very little honesty when it comes to Shadeur Sanders either way.
Not true at all.
We have like politics.
Sanders
Everybody's taking their camps.
A lot more accurate. Matter of fact, they're looking very close to 100% accurate because they were the ones who thought Shadeur Sanders was what he's showing himself to be in this camp. I can't even say, like I said before, I can't even say that I thought that Shadeur Sanders was going to look this good this early. I kind of underestimated Shadeur myself. I felt like overall this is a weak quarterback class. I thought, Shadeur Sanders was the best of a weak quarterback class. But it seems after Shadeur Sanders touched down the camp and actually, took some reps, it seems like Shadeur Sanders would have been an elite talent in any quarterback draft, and probably the best quarterback in any quarterback draft. Especially in recent history, I would say. I had to go back and look at the recent quarterbacks that came out, you know what I mean, to really compare that. But off the top of my head, in recent history, Shadeur Sanders, based on his play of what I've seen, would rank above anybody in recent history coming out of the quarterback position, the way that he's played. I'm exaggerating, whatever. That's what I see. I'm a Cleveland Browns fan first. So it does me no good to big up somebody who doesn't deserve it. But I have never seen a college quarterback look that comfortable in Browns camp. So Bull is reserving some skepticism. And he has a right to do so. That's his right. But in my opinion, it's starting to look like Shadeur Sanders fans were a lot more accurate than naysayers, because the naysayers seem to be more intent on downplaying Shadeur's talents, where it seems like all Shadeur's fans have done is pretty much give him credit for who he is. And he is that. You know, you can hate his father or whatever. You don't have to like the bravado that him and his father, walks or whatever, and how they talk, and everything like that. They have kind of a Muhammad Ali type rhetoric, bravado, whatever. You don't have to like it if you're more conservative. That's fine. You should not let that dictate how you do the time on the field. It's really about football. That's all I'm saying.
And neither side is being fair. I feel like I'm in the middle trying to keep and I've been
I'm trying to be in the
killed by
too.
people, even though I don't think I've said a bad word about Shadeur Sanders, but I've been killed as if I'm a hater because I feel like one of the few people that's being honest about the situation. The people in the Sanders camp and the people in the anti-Sanders camp, both sides are absolutely ridiculous. On this side, you can't critique Shadeur Sanders. If I say the stats don't matter for everybody, that's turned into a knock of Sanders, which is absurd. And the people on the other side are obsessed with he's a fifth round pick, which is a disingenuous thing to say, even though it's factually correct. And it's disingenuous.
If you have the people who are covering the team that consistently, first of all, their voices are bigger than the regular people. Let's be clear. They have thousands of followers.
But that doesn't mean that the people here aren't wrong too.
But here's what I'm saying though. You got to look at it from the perspective of this. So when you, like a lot of people's perspective is, you guys come on in, be quiet, don't say nothing. They're looking around like, I don't know you like that. What do you mean?
What do you mean? I don't know.
Like there's a perception of that Shadeur Sanders, his fan base or whatever this fan base is, they should come in, take people's word for it, say whatever and toe the company line and sit down.
I don't agree with that.
So I don't either. But what I'm saying is, what happens is when you get a person who you feel has been slandered, they're going to be sensitive.
Yeah.
I understand that. I think generally, and I can't speak for everybody.
And they have a right to be
in fact, I referenced you
sensitive
this morning on my podcast because
when they're seeing what
something
they're
you
seeing.
said.
I mean, like I said, I've never seen anything more obvious I've seen some, some very close quarterback competition in the Browns camp. I've never seen something that was so lopsided, but in return, the media is making it seem like it's so close, or that Dylan Gabriel is actually above Shadeur Sanders when it's actually further from the truth. Very far from the truth. It makes the media look very bad to people who actually know the truth. People who've actually been following the camp. Makes them look very bad. They've already looked bad in the first place by making, Shadeur Sanders wait to the fifth round to get picked, pranking his phone, this, that, and the other. Now it seems like this is a continuation. I think in the long run, this is the pros. This is and this is Cleveland. So the pressure of the fans wanting the best product at quarterback on the field will eventually cave this organization in. So I believe Shadeur Sanders will eventually get the starting position, but he might get it a little bit later or much later than what's deserved. Which is a disservice to the fans. But it seems like right now the Browns don't care about doing the fans a disservice. They're willing to go an extra mile to downplay Shadeur Sanders right now. And I respect Kevin Stefanski, but I don't respect how he's playing with Shadeur Sanders. You know, if you are really trying to manufacture talent and competition, once you see a rookie quarterback look that comfortable with whatever he's playing with, the threes or the fours, then out of a competitive nature, you should say to yourself as a competitive coach, okay, kid, you did that with the fours. Let me see with the twos and threes. Okay, you dominated the twos and threes. I bet you gonna do it with the ones. And to me, that's how you treat a competitive athlete. If you're in the if you're in it to win it, you know what I mean. If you're in it to win it, you want to you want to maintain your leadership as a coach. You want to take control of locker room, whatever. And you see this young horse, rising up. To me, you keep challenging the young man. Like they say, iron sharpens iron. You know what I mean? But right now, since they want to play this ego thing, it's like what it's seeming like to non-biased people is that it's only Shador with the irons sharpening the Browns. You know what I'm saying? Which that shouldn't be. Under proper leadership, the Browns organization needs to take the reins and keep challenging Shador, push him to the limit. See, see what exactly what he can handle, put more on his plate. If he's handling that easily, if he's handling it that easy with the fours, then put more on his plate. You know what I'm saying? Put more on his plate, put more challenges in front of him. But instead, as the Browns notoriously do, they fumble everything. They fumble all, you know, like national media said, the Browns have struggled with finding quarterback talent. The two areas to me that the Browns have struggled to find has been quarterbacks, wide receivers. You'll see some wide receivers come in now and then, every now and again. They might have some short-lived success. They struggle developing and finding wide receiver talent and developing and finding quarterback talent. And right now they have it. It seems like they're intent on squandering it. It's crazy.
Ed,
I dare you to let me build you a completely free e-commerce store preloaded with
a few weeks ago in that podcast you did that we talked about, you said something that at the time I didn't really agree with, and I've kind of changed my mind after a couple of weeks, that there is this frustration from people to having to talk about Shadeur Sanders, which I didn't really see in the beginning, and I think it's the case. And I think it ties into this, well, he's a fifth-round pick stuff. And I think it's all tied together, and I agree with you that if you're in the media in Cleveland, and you're sick of talking about Shadeur Sanders, you're in the wrong business.
This is what we do.
You're in the wrong. This is great. If nothing else, this is great for conversation.
The best thing that's
so I don't know why anybody would be sick of having a conversation, and that frustration.
If he's such an average quarterback, and he's only running with the fours, then why do these people have his name in their mouths? But this is what haters do. This is their nature. They can't keep you out of their minds, out of their mouths, always talking about you. But when you ask them your opinion of you, you're always lesser. But you're their favorite person to talk about. But it is what it is. We'll see how this plays out. I think I'm gonna wrap it right here, and I'll come back with a part two, and we'll get into more, film and more objective type of things that are coming out of the camp, and I let the people, let the people decide. Like, share, and just subscribe. Let me know in the comment section if you see this video. I'm still trying to grow this station, so I get viewers every now and then. Right now, but this is something I love to do. Like I said, this was supposed to be more of a social political type channel, but this slander on this young man is on the level of a conspiracy. That I cover. It's been such a conspiracy. I had to cover. This is astonishing. You know what I mean? This is wow. So want to see more of this type of content. If you see this video, let me know in the comment section. We done.
Could lean to some negative.